Hey everyone, so for the past few years I've been working on an evolution simulator in my own spare time as a personal project. I'd love to know your thoughts below, negative or positive, please let me know. Without further ado, let's begin. Firstly, we introduce a lucky world that we're going to proceed with for the rest of the simulation. Here you can see a simplified view of a potential world. Here it's got the height map, which ranges from dark blue to dark red, from the deepest ocean to the tallest mountains. Above it, you've got the arrows. That's the associated wind map generated from the underlying height map. In the top left, you can see a bunch of triangles. Those are the volcanoes, which for our purposes, we're going to assume that life originates from. It's going to evolve there, it's going to spread, it's going to be amazing, hopefully. But I'm not a massive fan of this world, so let's regenerate again till we find one we like. Of course, larger worlds can run into performance issues. Smaller worlds often don't have the space for the animals to speciate properly, so it's a bit of a balance. And once you find the world that you like, say like this one, you can confirm your choice, and we can start the simulation. Now that the initial generation is done, all we can do is sit back, watch as the ocean comes rolling in, and wait for the undersea volcanoes to do their thing. Now that some time has passed, taking a closer look at the volcanoes again, you can see there's a brown sludge on them. This is the first state that life takes. This is directly feeding off the volcanoes themselves. It can spread, as you can see it already has, to any adjacent volcano, but it cannot spread beyond that. As it's exposed to light, some of these can instead evolve to be more green, more photosynthetic. They can break away and form free floating algae. Now that they have algae above them, they can instead start to feed not on the volcanoes, but on the photosynthetic life forms above it. And after a few false starts, the animals have finally taken hold. If you look around them, you can see there's a few black squares around them. Those are their eggs. They start off in a lighter colour when first laid by a female. A male, if he's close enough related to the egg, will come and fertilise it. The eggs will darken and develop and then hatch. You can roughly tell how close the animals are related to each other by their colour. And as you can see, there's already a fair amount of variation between individuals of this original species. For now, they can get by on just being simply good enough to move to the next food source, but as they speciate and as they adapt to become more and more efficient at swimming, we'll see a greater amount of competition and a greater need to adapt. And now life has made its first tentative steps onto land. The algae has evolved into moss. The moss can only exist in very damp environments, but when they photosynthesize, they can produce their own clouds. That then rains down and therefore expands the area in which the moss can exist. The animals too have followed the moss onto land now that they have food, and the animals have also colonized both the open ocean and the shallow water near the land. The moss has now spread quite a bit, creating wetland environments due to the increased rain where it grows. Not quite spread everywhere. You can see in the top right, it's still absent, but if you look to the top left, you can see some have taken the next step and evolved into actual plants. Plants will produce pollen. If they're received by a plant genetically close enough to it, it will turn into a seed. As you can see, these first plants are very simple, not too different from the moss they just evolved from. There's no leaves, there's no branches, their trunk is red. This is simply indicative of their species. You can turn it to their true colour to see that it's also just green. And while life makes its first tentative steps onto land, it's already conquered the oceans. As you can see, they are now noticeably different colours. That means they are now genetically distinct enough to be unable to interbreed. Therefore, there are now multiple species competing with each other to survive in these oceans. The various different evolutionary pressures have begun to mould them to various different shapes and sizes. Some have become smaller or have a more streamlined body to make them quicker in the oceans. On the other hand, some have become larger to be able to consume more food and do so more efficiently. The plants continue their invasion of the land, getting further than their ancestral moss did. Now, while they may superficially look pretty similar, as you can see, they are all genetically distinct species, unable to interbreed with each other. The plants themselves compete on the basis of light, for which they grow taller. The plants also use resources such as water. This is reflected in the size of their leaves, and also they can alter the shape of their leaves and the positioning of their leaves to be more efficient at capturing light and not blocking the leaves below. I think it's safe to say that the animals, at least over here, have successfully colonized the land. There's various different colors, which means multiple shallow water lineages have made the leap onto land. Let's see which can stand the test of time and survive. As the plants increase their grip onto land, we can see them begin to differentiate and evolve. The plants here are starting to grow taller and taller in competition for the light. This is where the terrain the plant on becomes more relevant. A taller plant is more susceptible to the elements, and being on a higher terrain also makes you more susceptible. The lowest level of land here, you can see more forests. Higher up, plants have remained small. And you can see the animals that live in the forest have also started to grow longer limbs to be able to more efficiently eat from the top of these plants. While on higher ground, the animal and plant life alike have remained small and close to the ground. As time goes on, the difference between the animal and plant life of the lowlands and the highlands become more and more distinct. The first forests have truly taken shape. As you may have noticed, they're still green. This is because wood and woody trunks have not yet evolved. And in the animals, there's a clear trend toward larger body size. A larger gut is more efficient at digesting plant matter, however needs a lot more food, which these animals can only find in forests such as these. The other shore of the sea is more isolated, and here the plants have evolved in an independent direction. And here's a quick walk around. I think the biggest changes are these animals with really long legs in the forests evolved to eat from the top of the trees. The animals in general have all got a bit more bulkier and larger. In the ocean, these really large animals have evolved, almost like whales. And then disaster struck. There seems to be a flood. Can't see any of the long-legged animals anymore, or many of the larger animals in general. Seems to be in a mass extinction, which is a shame. At the top of the hill, we find this large lake, bounded by the hill itself and the edge of the terrain. It's been fed by all the rainwater, and ultimately seems to be responsible for flooding the forests down below. There seems to be a new revolutionary type of plant. I'm going to call it the big leaf plants. They evolved first in the highlands and have rapidly advanced down, outcompeting many other plant lineages, ignoring the flooding in the background. As the flood waters have receded, in this forest at least, see the animals have recovered and started to evolve to be larger and larger again. And we'll end off with a final walkthrough. Thanks again for watching. If you made it this far, I'd really appreciate if you gave me some feedback. I have no idea what direction this project could go in, so I'd love some feedback. Any ideas would be greatly appreciated, and I hope to see you next time.